So 2 weeks later, we're sitting there, we're like, you know what, let's do it. Like, let's quit. Like $5,000, that's so much money, we're gonna make it. So we go out, we take our boss out for lunch, pretty much sit down with him, he knows what's coming. We tell him, hey, like we need to go on our own path and do this. And funny enough, you think he'd be super upset, like all this stuff. He stops, he says, you know what, if you guys need support, I'm here.
That's amazing.
And it actually relates back to the first conversation that you don't realize who you actually have in your court until you put yourself out there.
Our final speaker today is a founder and operator of Virtuoso Energy, a solar EV charging and energy savings company. Prior to starting Virtuoso Energy, Kai worked in the oil and gas industry. During this time, he realized that his desire for the environmental protection. During this realization, he met an inspiring individual that shared the same passion. So please help me welcome Kai.
Kai, thanks for coming down today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been an awesome event, and I've never seen someone be able to speak that well publicly.
Oh, I appreciate
Awesome.
that. Thank
Congrats,
you.
so.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And me and Kai, we went to high school together. And then after high school, you lose touch with people. And I think the next time I saw you was, it's funny, all my stories are 2016. I think it was maybe 2017, mixed up here. It was 2017. And we were at this, social function. Is it a bar? We were at this social function. And I think I got lucky because this guy never ever goes out. So I think I got lucky. And at the time I was with this other friend, Calvin, who he knew these two guys who own Cafe Philosophy. Right? And so I'm with these guys, and we're hanging out downtown, and all of a sudden I see Kai. He just appears, and he seems to know these guys from Cafe Philosophy. And so then I go over and I say, hey Kai, man, it's good to see you. It's been a long time. And how do you know these guys? Well, I just met these two guys from Cafe Philosophy. How do you know them? And then you go on to tell me this awesome story of how early on when you're starting this business that was your meeting space. You guys were meeting there, you're having your team meetings at this cafe, and just through that, you developed this amazing relationship with the owners. So I think that's really cool, and I think your whole story is awesome, and I just love for you to share that today. So maybe you can just tell us a little bit what you do right now.
Perfect. So I'm the co-founder of Virtuoso Energy. We focus on sustainability as a whole. So when it comes to 3 different pillars of sustainability, whether it's reducing your carbon footprint and then creating your own power locally with solar and electric vehicle infrastructure. So when it comes back to that story philosophy, I always like that story a lot because when we first started out the business, we worked from our basement. So our office was at Gersh, which is my business partner's basement.
Yeah.
And so we would always go there, and his wife would cook us lunch. It was pretty funny. So then we would be like, we can't have business meetings in your basement. So we would sort out kind of like a coffee shop that was new, and he actually had just opened. So Flossie had just opened on 17th, and we'd go in there all the time and have different business meetings. And after a while, to hear the owner came over to the table and was like, you guys are here literally twice, 3 times, 4 times a week. What do you guys do?
You gotta start paying for meeting space.
Yeah, so we started, so we talked to him about it and told him what we did, and ended up actually creating a really good friendship with him.
Nice.
And went on to, I still have meetings there, whenever I can.
Well, I think
outside the
when
office,
I met you, we went there.
Exactly, yeah. So,
it's your spot.
no, it's a good spot, and it kind of, it ties in. It's cool to see how a lot of Calgary organizations actually tie into each other and how it kind of creates a cool vibe here. So.
There's a good energy, and everyone's somewhat interconnected too.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So maybe just explain what a typical week, if you can do that. I know it's pretty crazy times for you guys, but maybe a typical week looks like, some of the things you're up to.
So a typical week will fluctuate quite a bit, like you mentioned. So we currently have operations in Calgary, Edmonton, and just expanding into Vancouver.
Nice.
The biggest thing is currently Calgary's kind of our hub. So typical week, you're at the office, you're doing meetings here, whether it's with clients, you're going to site, things like that, checking up on projects. You're in the office kind of quoting new jobs, working with the team. And then I am lucky enough, or depending on if you like rain, I get to go to Vancouver quite a bit.
Yeah.
So then that side of the business is kind of working on building that as well. Nice. But the cool thing about it is here it's very operational based, where in Vancouver it's a lot of business development. So one of the things I've learned from starting the business is wearing all the hats. It's hard. To give a bit of a backdrop, I have an electrical background. So I'm an electrician. I went to SAIT, graduated there with my electrician red seal, and I don't have any background in business. So when it comes to operations, it's really easy for me. It flows very nicely. But then when it comes to business development, that was a huge learning curve for me.
Right.
So in Calgary, when we're doing business development, it's good for myself where you can do things together. At the start, actually a funny story, we used to send out important emails and actually read each other's emails to make sure that we didn't mess them up. So
spelling.
Yeah, like everything, like the way we worded it and everything.
Nice.
So now it's like I'm in Vancouver doing that as well. So looking at the BD side there and learning a lot. So yeah, I've just been able to kind of evolve and learn.
How did you get into solar? Because you said you were an electrician.
Yeah, so I out of high school, it's funny, actually relates back to a lot of things here in Alberta, but I pretty much set a goal for myself that I want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was very naive. I was kind of like, I was young, I was 18. I was like, how am I going to go and make a lot of money in Alberta? There was a lot of places you could go. Again, you could have no education, you go make $100,000.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I want to do a skilled trade. My 5 generations back on my dad's side are plumbers and then engineers.
Wow.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to become an electrician. I don't want to be a plumber. I don't want to deal with that stuff. So I set my sights on that. Started here in Calgary, was able to find an organization here in Calgary that would take me on to apprentice.
Cool.
Went through the apprentice program and actually worked in residential for the first year, and then they opened an industrial division. And they pretty much said, who wants to join the industrial division? So I put up my hand and said, for sure, I want to go try it out.
Is that the big money?
Yeah, so at that time, that was like up north.
Oh, okay, yeah, and then cold.
Exactly, yeah, so cold, like everyone else is saying.
Yeah.
So I got the chance to go into that.
Yeah.
Got a feel for the up north life, kind of working, usually it depends, we would work 2 on, 1 off, or 24 and 3. Oh, wow. So so you're working these shifts. I was up north in Fort Mac and then in Grand Prairie a lot. And before I actually came back to Calgary, the last part was Grand Prairie. So I was doing 24 and 4, same thing, you're out like in the middle of nowhere, an hour outside of Grand Prairie. It's minus 50, like
it's not fun.
You're hating life. And actually the last shift I ever did out of town, it started December 1st and it ended December 24th. And we were driving home that day on Christmas Eve. And the whole shift was was chaos. And we actually ended up working like 16, 18, 20-hour days.
Whoa.
Not even legal in that at that time, but they didn't really care.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a big wake-up call for me on the sense of like, okay, if I'm going to do this, why am I doing it? In a sense of something that I don't believe in or something I don't want to do. Exactly. And then the environmental side of things, when it came to what you see kind of at the forefront of the oil and gas industry, there was a lot of things I saw that I didn't agree with and kind of went back to my childhood, the way I was raised from my parents.
Right.
So that kind of tied that all in. And then I actually ended up coming back to Calgary and working on a sulfur plant outside in Airdrie.
Okay.
And that's where I actually met Gersh. So if a lot of people in the room probably know in the trades, you're pulling up to site, there's 10 lifted trucks and there's no cars. So I had an Audi A4 and I pulled up to site and I would always get like in the morning safety meetings, everybody would be chirping it. And then I pull up and there's a guy pulls up in the exact same car.
Whoa.
And so I was like,
I got to get this guy.
This is weird. So I like walk in the safety meeting, whatever, it's like 6:30 and they do the safety stuff and the foreman goes, okay, Kai, you're with Gersh. And I'd never met this gentleman. So I'm like, okay, sounds good. So we got our task, went off and we started talking and I was like, do you drive an A4? And he's like, yeah, were you the guy with the other A4? And I'm like, this is super ironic that they put us together. So we started talking about more and realized that a lot of our kind of, a lot of things aligned between the meaning of life and kind of what we thought we wanted and what we saw out of life. Right. And we became fairly good friends, worked a lot together in the field, went on to different job sites. Do you want me to explain the whole story? Like go through all of it?
This is cool. Yeah. If we find anything, I'll just kind of poke at it.
So we went through. We worked for this company in Calgary locally here.
Yeah.
Did the whole thing, and then I was out of town in Saskatchewan. And a little bit of backdrop about Saskatchewan is I was in a town of maybe 450 people where at that time I actually had a Mercedes and I drove into this town. It's like a graveled road. As soon as I drove into the town that night in the bar when we were getting dinner, every single person knew that I was a foreigner and I was this guy with a Mercedes. And I'm sitting at this bar and like people were coming up like, you're not from around here? And I'm like, no, definitely not. I'm just working here. And
it's just a rental, I swear.
Exactly. So then that night they show us the hotel room and we had paid I think it was $12 or $15 a night.
For a hotel room?
For a hotel room. Now, the only time I'd ever paid that before was in Thailand for the
Yeah.
hostel. So I go up to this hotel room and open the door, and there's a sink, a toilet, and a bed. And I kind of looked at it. I'm
In
looking
just
at
one
the other
room?
guys.
There's
Yeah,
not-
yeah.
they're not
I'm looking
divided?
at the other guys, and I'm like, I don't know if this is where I want to stay. So, so I'm staying in this hotel room. I fully closed. Like I'm sleeping in my fully clothes, working the next day, everything. And
Yeah.
I get an email about 13 days into the shift from SATE. And it's this thing saying, hey, we're holding a Build Your Business competition.
Cool.
Come like hear the main speaker of Rouge.
Okay.
So the restaurant here in Calgary. So I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'll forward it to Gersh. When I get back, we should go to this. So
Had you
forwarded
guys
to
been
him.
talking about a business at this time together or anything?
Yeah,
making a move?
so actually, I guess I skipped over that. So about 8 months before that, we had actually watched, I'm sure a lot of people have ever seen it, Interstellar.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that
So we
movie.
watched this movie, we walked out of the movie, and we'd always talked about kind of what we wanted to do. And we walked out, there was 4 of us, none of us talked for 10 minutes. Literally, we were walking, nobody talked. After 10 minutes, finally, I think it was Gersh said something, and everyone else like, well, I gotta go home, like I gotta do this, blah, blah, blah. And Gersh like, do you wanna go grab a drink? So I was like, sounds good. So we went, and we actually went to a local shisha bar here in Calgary.
Nice.
And that night at like, I think it was like 2:30, they were closing. We stood up and pretty much after the conversation said, we need to do something that we believe in and something that aligns with our values, and we shook on the business.
Wow.
So that
Did
was,
that feel good in that moment? Like,
and so it felt really good. So the whole thing that you were talking about with like highs and lows, you're feeling like $1 million, I'm gonna own a business, like this is gonna be amazing.
you already feel like a business.
Yeah, you're
I
like,
got,
I'm a
millions of
businessman,
dollars.
it's amazing. So, so yeah, that was the 8 months before this whole Build Your Business. So we were working actually moonlighting, I guess you would say it's called. So we would come home from our shifts or whatever we were doing, and we would work evenings, nights, like wiring people's houses, doing whatever service calls. Like we at one point actually were in a condo building. The condo hadn't been sold yet, but the realtor had called us in, and we're fixing this person's light at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And they actually got a complaint from the condo board because you can't be obviously in a condo building fixing someone's light and renovating and doing like electrical wiring at 2:30.
Right.
So it's kind of funny. So we're doing all this stuff, and then I went to Saskatchewan, that out of town job, and then we came back for the SATE thing, listened to them speak, listened to the owner of Rouge speak, and really inspired us to kind of be like, okay. We went back and sat down and said, okay, let's go into this competition. Let's not go in as an electrical company. Let's not go in as the traditional thing that we do. Let's go in with what we want to do.
Yeah.
Let's bring sustainability here to Alberta from a different energy perspective.
Right.
So we went into this Build Your Business competition with SATE. There was a bunch of business students that kind of helped you. So it's through Enactus. And they kind of help you build your business plan. So we built the business plan with them for 3 months. And then we ended up going, and once the presentation was kind of like a Dragon's Den style, where there was
cool.
judges, and then they kind of judge your business plan. So we went into this business plan, went up on stage. I had taken like 2 or 3 shots before. I was so nervous.
Nice.
I hate public speaking. Like,
Yeah.
couldn't do it. So we go up to this competition thing, pretty much just. In that moment, I don't know what happened, but I think
You blacked
it was.
out?
It was
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. It was a positive thing. It's actually me and Gersh just kind of realized that this is what we want to do. We went up on stage and just pretty much laid it all down what we wanted to
I
do.
guess
and what
it's
we saw as
easy
the
to speak
vision.
from a point of passion, right?
Exactly. So I think it really brought across and ended up winning the business competition.
That's amazing.
$5,000 is what they gave us. And so then about 2 weeks after we won that, we'd always joked around way back. We're saying we're going to team quit one day as a joke. Like,
Oh, okay.
we're going to walk into our boss's office and team quit.
Team quit.
So
Never
2
heard
weeks
that.
later,
Yeah, I
we're
love
sitting
that.
there. We're like, you know what? Let's do it. Like, let's quit. Like $5,000. That's so much money. We're gonna make it.
Yeah.
So we go out. We take our boss out for lunch. Pretty much sit down with him. He knows what's coming. We tell him, hey, like we need to go on our own path and do this. And
Yeah.
funny enough, you think he'd be super upset, like all this stuff. He stops. He says, you know what? If you guys need support, I'm here.
That's amazing.
And it actually relates back to the first conversation that you don't realize who you actually have in your court until you put yourself out there. So he actually said, you know what, you don't have a master electrician. In Alberta, you can't be a master electrician until you have your journeyman for 3 years. So we weren't eligible. And he's like, I'll pull your permits for you. So he actually pulled our permits for our electrical work for us for the first 6 months.
That's awesome.
And then it came kind of a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So we had to hire a master electrician on staff. But so yeah, he pulled our permits, team quit, went on to pretty much say, okay, now what do we do? We're
Yeah.
sitting here, we got $5,000, we don't have
Cafe
a clue.
philosophy, yeah.
Exactly, you're going up for lunch meetings, you think every meeting you're gonna change something, this meeting is gonna make it. And so you're sitting in these meetings, what are we gonna do? We're still in basements, we're still wiring basements, still doing this stuff. And we kind of said, okay, let's shift and we're gonna spend this money we put a down payment on a truck. We put about $3,000 down on the truck, and then we put the rest towards marketing and kind of developing.
Yeah.
So we go out with this plan, start looking for, okay, solar. We're gonna advertise to solar. This is in Alberta in 2015.
Yeah.
So we're gonna advertise solar. Nobody bites. Like we're going to networking events. You're going into a networking event where you introduce yourself as what you do, and people will literally say, good luck, and walk away. So you're kind of like, so what are you left to do? So we're sitting there, and how do we figure out what do we do? So we get lucky enough that we find a client, one client that is, I guess, willing to invest the time in us to do a solar system for them. So instead of the Gersh and Kai, I guess we decide we're going to build our own racking solution for this solar. Instead of just installing the solar system, we're going to go out there, we're going to build our own racking solution and reinvent the wheel and try to like make this more sustainable price-wise for people so that more people will do it. So we go to build this solar system. It takes us like 3 times as long as we wanted. Lots of problems with the inspections, like learning all these things. And so finally we complete the system. That comes down to then another client seeing that in that area in BC and saying, okay, well, we want solar as well. What can you do for us? So we then smartened up and ended up actually using a manufactured solution for that. So we took the solar system, built them one, came back, and this was in BC. So then we came back to Calgary, kind of started marketing that towards Alberta here. What can we do here? Like, we want to do it locally. And a funny thing too is a lot of times you're sitting in rooms with people and they'd be like, that's an awesome idea, but good luck here.
They don't want to help you though.
The thing is, it wasn't even that they didn't want to help you. People, actually, that's one thing about Calgary and Alberta, everybody wants to help each other.
Oh, okay.
It's very...
The culture here is good.
Yeah, the culture here is really good. If you have an idea, people are willing to help, but it wasn't even that. It was, okay, the idea is awesome, but good luck here. Like, how are you going to do it here? Right? So stay in BC, see if you can do business there. But me and Gersh were fairly stubborn when it comes to that. We said, no, like Alberta's where we grew up. We want to see Alberta do this. And
so you had no sales background though. So how did you?
So
what were some barriers initially?
So lucky enough, we from an early stage we had a few people that kind of believed in us. That we were able to use.
Like in a place of mentorship.
In a mentorship role. In the end, it's funny because you kind of find out that some people are just in it for their own good, and they're not actually there to mentor you. They just want to get as much out of you as possible. So there was a few people like that at the start, but then there was other ones that kind of mentored you.
Do you have a tip for anyone looking to get a mentor?
I think it doesn't matter what they do. Honestly, it doesn't matter what industry they're in. I think it's the biggest thing is really that their personality drives with you, and that their purpose in life or what they're trying to achieve is the same as well. So that's the biggest thing, because I think a lot of times you kind of go, oh, well, this person's like a CEO at this company. He has to be successful. But you don't realize that he maybe has done certain things that you wouldn't do, or that he can't actually drive you in the direction you want to go. So I think a big thing is ask for wisdom quickly, but be quick to drop it as well. So don't think about someone as like, okay, well, he's helping me. Like, if that person isn't actually in that sense helping you, then you can easily let go of them as well. Don't act like you kind of owe them something because of kind of past things that you've done with them.
Something that they gave you. Yeah, and not getting attached to an idea, right? Too. Like they could give you some idea or method, and then you don't want to get stuck there though.
Yeah, so then overall, we kind of went out. We got the whole marketing pitch from a lot of different companies where pay us $20,000, we'll make your business successful, but they have no metrics, right? So you're kind of looking, where can I spend that money? What can we do? And then at that point, you're also realizing that your funds are drying up, your savings are drying up. Like, what are you doing? You don't, I guess, paycheck for 20 months was the first time we paid ourselves.
Wow.
So
what kept
you're
you
kind
motivated? Like, what's
so you're kind of, that's the thing is, when you were talking about the vision, is instead of every morning waking up and being like, okay, well, I have all these problems, it was, well, every morning I know exactly what I want to do, I know what I want to achieve, and if these things in front of me get in the way, it doesn't matter, I can overcome them.
Nice.
And I think that's a mindset that's super hard to put yourself in, because there's a lot of times when you're, like you said, down in the gutter, and you're kind of, you think that like everything in the world is against you.
Yeah, for sure.
But you don't realize that there's actually so many things for you as well. So you kind of got to look at the positive of all these situations.
Yeah.
So then lucky enough, we ended up, the Alberta government changed. They brought in an incentive for solar. So again, the whole Outliers, I don't know if you've read Outliers, but great book on, it's not actually like a lot of times it's timing, it's certain situations that put you in that successful role. So we actually ended up, an incentive came in for solar, right when we were ramping up all of our stuff.
So it's sometimes like when you look back at like things that were like bad luck, like in the time, then you look back later on, it's actually was good luck. So it was good luck that when you started off, that things weren't great, but you could build that foundation so that you could shoot off.
Exactly, and I think a big part of that was too is like looking for diversity here, right? Like a lot of diversifying Alberta as not just one focus of like a boom and bust cycle. So we got that, I guess, that leg up when it came to the government, and then they ended up bringing in incentive for solar. Honestly, almost wish it didn't come in. It was good for the industry, but it also created a lot of problems with different aspects
too?
of. Yeah, a lot of companies that just came in and wanted to make quick money, and in that sense. So then that was taken out 6 months ago, and from that point, I think is when you realize like we had grown the team. I guess to backtrack here a little bit. So before that incentive came in, we finally said, okay, we need to bring someone on to do electrical work. We can't be like working on the tools 9 to 5 and then at night writing emails and trying to close jobs. So we kind of said, okay, one of us will go into operations, one of us will go into business development, and we'll hire someone in the field. So we hired a staff in the field that led kind of being able to do the projects. So that eased up the process in a whole kind of thing as well for us and takes some burden off your shoulders. Having a good team is something that is, you don't realize how good it is and like how much it can actually help you in growth.
Until you go to another culture. And
exactly, and like in an everyday of kind of, and just seeing kind of what.
How do you choose the right people? Like, what do you have anything that you do in particular, or
do
you?
There's a lot of different ways. So it's a little bit different between the field and the office staff. A lot of times in the office staff, it's an AQ, IQ, EQ. So you're actually looking at. Again, you're doing an interview to see like, okay, what's their like answer to very basic questions. Then you do like a scenario interview where you're sitting in a loud place at Starbucks. So for example, one of our employees, Asper, he went through like the first time we did this. So he had to go through like the learning curves of it as well. And it was, it's like, it's really seeing how people adapt. Can they be in a different atmosphere, not just a boardroom looking at you? Can they be in a loud place like Starbucks where there's a lot of distractions, and can they still be interactive with you?
Oh, okay.
So that was a big thing for us, is kind of doing that and taking that forward with other employees as well. And I think a big thing too was finding people that aren't motivated by money, that are motivated by a passion or a purpose.
Yeah, or like what you're about.
Exactly, and it ties back to actually myself as well. Is when I was 18, it was like, I want to go to the rigs, I want to make money. And I realized a year ago, we were sitting in a boardroom and a certain scenario kind of like playing out and potential of like getting bought out. And I realized that day, like, it didn't matter how much money that those people would offer us, because I had a purpose to what I was doing, and it was towards my bigger mission, and I didn't care. And I think that the moment I realized that was the moment that we realized that everybody on our staff that's kind of involved in our vision is at that same pace. And like you said, with the interview process, it really kind of pushes forward in that. So asking those questions about what do you really want to achieve? Like, are you here just to make another $20 an hour, $40 an hour, or are you here to kind of see what we can do and what impacts we can make? And honestly, I have the confidence in everyone on our team that have the exact same vision in that, and that everybody's there for the same reason. And it's kind of, it becomes kind of surreal that there's people willing to work for that, right? And willing to work for a purpose rather than just a paycheck.
That's
and
awesome.
I think, and it helped us a lot as well, but it helps you through the ups and downs as well, right? Like every company has its ups and downs. Because
you're gonna, and you as well, and you have your partner there if you're going the higher state or the lower state, and your partner's there to support you. And
that's another thing too, is like when it comes to business, having a good business partner and like someone there, or even, I guess we can zoom it out a bit onto kind of the friend group thing.
Yeah, relationships.
You realize a lot through those, like, so we started the business when I was 22. At that point, a lot of my friendships were like partying, going out, whatever, and they're like, what are you doing, working 20 hours a day? And you kind of realize that those people aren't positive for you either. And weeding those out takes a while, but the moment that you weed those people out, it just lifts so much burden off your shoulders, because there's people in your life, again, like you said, that it doesn't matter if you have nothing or if you have everything, that'll always be there.
Yeah.
And those people are hard to find. And I think maybe I don't even know if I can count a handful. Like you're barely, these are people, again, that are there from the beginning, and they're willing to support you through all of it. And yeah, I think you need those people, and you need to realize that early rather than later, when there's people that are kind of like leeching on or trying to be part of whatever you're trying to do. So
yeah, I really like the idea like that, one person with like a dream or a goal is like crazy. Yeah. But then like one person with like a dream or a goal who has like one person believing them, they're not crazy. They're they're on their purpose at that point. Yeah. It's like the fact that you had your partner and he had you, then you're no longer like a crazy guy. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. That you're like on your purpose.
Yeah, and I think you bounce those ideas off each other, and as crazy as they sound, you're like, you know what, let's just try it. Let's just see if we can do it. And yeah, it is true, because I think the cool thing too now, though, that you see around you is people around you start to evolve as well. Mm-hmm. So like I'm very, I guess my personality is like adapting, so I like to like take things from situations and then see how can I evolve those into my personal life.
Right.
And seeing how many people around me have like changed their lifestyle or their outlook on life or their outlook on what the situations are is so cool, because earlier you mentioned like you can't actually go to someone and force them to.
No.
You can't, again, this will just based on something that's fairly talked about nowadays, is like you can't force someone to go vegan. You're never gonna go in there and be like, eat this. Like but the thing is, when you become the person that kind of, you can show that that's possible, and you don't have to be an extreme of anything.
Yeah, and you're feeling good, and you look like you look healthy.
You can do these things without being extreme and being like, you have to do this. It actually, more people than you think will jump on board, and it's pretty crazy to see.
And you probably like throughout your journey or your path, you've probably inspired a lot of people who knew you to maybe go after their dreams, or go after a goal, or even start a business. Because what happens is like if we see like indicators of success with people that we know, then we believe like it's more possible, because they're like, oh, well, like I grew up with that person. Like I've seen that person like eating and sleeping, like I've seen them doing like average day things, and now they're off, running a business. It's like, if they can do it, like I can do it too.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes down to like, again, social media, and looking at a lot of the times the negatives. There's a lot of negative, especially right now, a lot of negative on social media about economies and things like that. But yeah, taking those people that are relatable to you, rather than, again, everybody, like, let's just say, I like soccer, so Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously very successful. Again, looking at him, sure, you can relate a little bit, but if it's someone that's local here in Calgary, or someone in Alberta that you can relate to in different aspects of, you're able to transition into different careers or whatever you need to do, it just makes it that much more achievable as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's,
awesome. Do you want to, I think we've got a few more minutes here. Do you want to wrap up with like a final takeaway or a message for everyone?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that was touched on last time as well, last conversation here as well, a big part of kind of everything I do is enjoying the journey. So don't look at, this is today and there's bad days, like you were mentioning. You can have a really bad day, and everybody does. Nobody's perfect. You can't create this perfect life that everything is always good and you're always on your schedule. And if you have that off day, it doesn't matter, because in the end, you still look at that mission and having that journey, and you got to enjoy it. And a big part of that is always have a smile on your face. Like in the worst scenarios, it could be worse. You could literally be in Africa starving. Like I feel like a lot of times we forget that we live in Canada. We have access to a lot of things around us that, whether it's support, whatever it is, we don't have it the worst that you could have in life. And I think it really is just enjoy that journey and always have a smile on your face, and don't let scenarios around you kind of dictate where you want to go. Like there's always going to be negative things around you. The economy is going to be bad, the politics, whatever it is. In the end, it's your choice. If you want that to negatively affect you, then you're going to let it negatively affect you, right? You got to have that positive mindset and not take the negative out of that. Take the positive and see, well, if there's this, we probably need to do something. Let's figure out what we can do, and let's be innovative or evolve, right?